And away we go. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today. We'll share a little bit of clips from the news and have some dialogue with those of you who are able to join us for the live portion. And if you are listening anywhere else and you would like to join the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. That is at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat, fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta, and you can also find me on Rumble on Coffee Talk 2 with the number 2 as we get ready to jump off here. As always, I do try to read through as many of the comments as is reasonable for the benefit of those of you who are listening and not able to see what is going on. And I'll say hello to some of the people that have chimed in the live portion so far. See, Helter has just joined us today, as well as Dragon, Brian, Bob, James, JJ, and Cyberjack Sr. Hello, everybody. Hello to everyone else who is watching that didn't want to chime in. That's okay. You don't have to. You don't have to say anything. I know you're there. As we get ready to jump off into, of course, the realm of the ridiculous. The realm of the ridiculous, as I like to say. Taking a look at what is going on in our world today and trying to make some sort of sense out of it. It's not always very easy now, is it? And I wanted to start off actually with Maxine Waters. Actually, I wanted to start off with Maxine Waters. I'll be talking about protesters here in a few minutes. But Maxine Waters and her big Freudian slip that's been now revealed. I don't know if anybody has caught this or if you've seen this yet. It's fantastic, though. Big Freudian slip from Maxine Waters, putting her foot deep in her mouth. And Caps is here, says happy to join the stream, glad you could make it. And Bob tried to watch the ad, but it was 90 minutes long. Was it? Holy crap. Yeah, if anybody can let the ads run, that'd be great. But yeah, if it's excessive, I mean, I understand. And I see Kimberly has joined us. Glad you could make it today. Yeah, we're going to take a look at Maxine Waters at the top of the hour. And this is from Real Clear Politics. And there is a video clip, and I'm going to try to play it. I'm going to try to play it to see if we can listen to it. I got to watch out for ads myself. I try not to impose ads over the video if I can help it. Let me pull this up. Maxine Waters putting her foot in her mouth. Real Clear Politics. It says, Representative Maxine Waters slams Doge. We don't know what they have on us. That's right. That's what she said. And I'm going to try to play this audio clip to see if we can catch that. Freudian slip from Maxine Waters. She's upset at Doge. But why is she upset?
When Musk comes...
I don't have anything for you on that.
Would you like to tell us today that you won't let Doge into the Federal Reserve or have access to the systems and the data?
So we've had no contact, and I don't really have nothing for you to report today on that.
Well, you know what happened to Treasury. You know what happened over at the CFPB. And the people of this country are being violated because all of our privacy is being taken up by Elon Musk and Trump, and we don't know what all they have on us, our bank account.
There it is. You're worried about being Maxine Waters, her 86-year-old self, worried about what all they be able to use, not what they might be able to use concerning anyone else, but what they have on us. Who, Maxine? Caps reminds us like, share, and subscribe. Please do, everybody. Raccoon has joined us, as well as Undercover Rusky and Dilo joining us today. Glad you could make it. JJ says Maxine Waters has the kind of face only a proctologist could love. Wow. And Country Living has joined us. More people are chiming in. That was her Freudian slip of the week right there.
It's been taken up by Trump, and we don't know what all they have on us. Our
We don't know what they have on us. Yeah, Maxine. And Kimberly says, say you're guilty without saying you're guilty. I know. You're not worried about the American people. You're not worried about them. I mean, they're basically, and I'm going to open up this CA knowledge database again. I talked about this yesterday because now I want to look up Maxine Waters since we're looking at her here. CA knowledge database. I've been having fun with this since I came across it. Maxine Waters, if I spelled it correctly. Let's see if she's in here. There she is. Search results for Maxine Waters. Did I spell it right? Yes, I did. Let's see what she's worth. Salary. Wow. I mean, they can't do anything to make this woman look good. Well, I mean, she is 85 and evil, so that really wears you out. Salary $185,000, monthly income $200,000, age 86, date of birth August 15th, 1938. Profession American politician. Net worth $10 million according to her last tax filing documents. Okay. Maxine's net worth assessed at approximately $10 million. That's not as bad as most politicians, actually. Assets, $6 million. Liabilities, $3 million. There's additional, though. Net worth is 10. Assets are 6. Liabilities and loans, $3 million. Investments, $7 million. Annual salary, $185,000. Business income, $1 million. Donations and gifts, $1 million. Inheritance, $2 million. Who did she bump off? Maxine Waters owns 5 real estate properties and 4 cars. Maxine Waters' assets also include cash reserves of over $2 million stored securely in 2 banks. Maxine Waters also owns an investment portfolio with 6 stocks valued at $3 million. Oh, okay, Maxine, that's good to know. Maxine recently bought a Tesla. Oh, I love it. Bought a Tesla Model 10 for $120,000 and a Lexus ES for $135,000. She lives in a 7,400 square foot luxury house located in Missouri. She bought the property for $8 million. $8 million. Okay, Maxine. Okay, Maxine. Country says they don't know what they have on them because there's so many things they've done, they've forgotten some of the crimes. Well, they don't know what can be traced or proven. I mean, you can know somebody did something and not be able to prove it. Certainly. But yeah, that's Maxine Waters. Again, just having a little fun with CA Knowledge Database, typing in the names of these famous people, celebrities, and politicians, and you can find out information about them like that. Now, getting on to the thumbnail. This is hilarious. And I often wonder this about protesters, if they know anything at all about what they're protesting, or if they're just out there to tear up, or if they even care. Oh, and happy Valentine's Day, by the way, for anybody who bothers with that. Another pagan holiday. Another pagan holiday, but you should be able to get candy at a discount tomorrow. You should be able to get candy at a discount tomorrow. But on to the purpose of the thumbnail. And like I said, I've often thought this about protesters. Do you know what you're protesting or why? Or do you know the truth about it? Or do you just have a piece of it? And protesters were shut down just recently at a USAID hearing. And I thought this was hilarious. New York Post. Clueless lefty protesters interrupt a USAID hearing but get savaged for being wrong. Clueless lefty protesters, a little bit of a little salt on that article, I guess, interrupted a Thursday hearing into the controversial government organization U.S. Agency for International Development and demanded the Trump administration restore funding for a life-saving AIDS assistance program without realizing that it had been spared. PEPFAR, I've talked about PEPFAR before, saves lives. Restore aid funding now, the protesters were shouting during open statements at the House Foreign Affairs Committee hearing. PEPFAR, or the U.S. President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, is a global AIDS relief program created by George W. Bush that's credited with saving more than 20 million lives, which, by the way, it's basically AIDS and HIV medication that the United States purchases and gives away to basically every area on the planet you can think of except for the United States. Committee Chairman Brian Mast from Florida savaged the ignorant demonstrators for not even understanding what they were protesting and urged them to read beyond progressive news outlets. Quote, I guess these guys don't watch the news. They didn't realize that PrepFAR was one of the many programs that did prove to be life-saving, so that funding was restored. Somebody better give them a link to, I don't know, Fox News or something like that. You gotta love it. You storm the building and you protest and you carry on and you whine and you complain and you shout and you got signs, and then it turns out you're protesting the wrong thing. Protesting the wrong thing because the PEPFAR program was not shut down, it was spared. JJ says the movie The Distinguished Gentleman with Eddie Murphy did point out what a bunch of crooks politicians are, and that was in the 90s. Yeah, it's one of the movies they never talk about with Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy's done some bad films like Boomerang, but he's done some pretty good ones, and Distinguished Gentleman is one of them. And you never hear about that movie. You never hear. I guess it hits a little too close to home because, yeah, he runs for Congress and wins. And he was a hustler. He ripped people off for a living. But he was shocked to see how corrupt other people in Congress were. Equally as shocked in the middle of the film where he ran into this one young congressman who was really passionate about something. And then he said, wow, you're serious. You really mean it, don't you? Well, good luck with that, because he hadn't met an honest one yet. My favorite line in the movie is when he's reading the list of charges against him at the end, things that he did wrong in the past, and as he's going down the list, he says, "Yep, this is all true, except for this one. This lady got her shoes back." But this is hilarious to me. These people sitting here, they want to rush in here and protest and shout and carry signs, and they don't even know what they're protesting. Because again, the PrepFAR program had been salvaged. Although I do have issues with it, as I mentioned, okay, sure, you're sending life-saving medication around the globe. Are you giving away any of that in the US? I don't think they are. That's for third world nations that they send this medication to, and I'm willing to bet it doesn't land there. Like most stuff that is, emergency resources, food, and medicine that goes overseas. Either their governments steal it and sell it on the black market, or warlords hijack the stuff and sell it on the black market. Either way, majority of the time, it doesn't get where it's going. And Crystal has joined us. Glad you could make it. Brian wants to know what I thought of the Haunted Mansion in Shrek. I never saw Haunted Mansion. I never actually saw Haunted Mansion. Shrek was okay, although Eddie Murphy's character in it was kind of annoying, quite frankly. I was never a fan of Donkey. Never a fan of Donkey. I mean, I understand. Eddie Murphy, when he does voice work, it always sounds the same. It always sounds the same. And there were 3 Shreks, right? And 2 holiday specials, I believe. 3 Shrek movies and 2 holiday specials. Michael Myers would be happy to do another one. He said so. I could do one every year for the rest of my life. This I thought was really interesting, and this came out of the meeting with Elon Musk talking about the limestone mine. I don't know if anyone is or not. Is this loading up? Because it seems to be dragging again. Come on, Reese. You're kidding me here. Here we go. It says Doge limestone mine discovery proves Elon Musk's waste cutting is vital. Now, I thought this was, again, really interesting. In what has to be the wackiest nugget yet, Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency this week revealed that federal employee retirements are processed using paper by hand in an old limestone mine in Pennsylvania. And this has been confirmed. This has been confirmed. During a brief in the Oval Office, Musk gave more details explaining that the clunky decades-old system means that the most number of people that could retire possibly in a month is 10,000. The speed at which the mine shaft elevator can move determines how many people can retire from the federal government. And that's a quote from Musk. And when the elevator breaks down, nobody can retire. Doesn't that sound crazy? Sure does, but somehow the retirement mine is completely real. In the underground facility at Iron Mountain in Boyers, Pennsylvania, 700 federal workers manually process each and every retirement filing on paper, which apparently can often take months to complete, and store the paperwork in manila envelopes and cardboard boxes. Since 1987, Uncle Sam has dumped $130 million into multiple attempts to digitize this process, but somehow they have failed every time. Eventually, the Fed gave up, opting to put up with one more insane inefficiency. And Doge now wants to modernize this process and shut the mine down. He asks the question, and this is Elon quoting again, how many more limestone mines are out there? That's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy. So they're still doing it basically like they did before they had computers, before they had even microfiche. Who's old enough to remember looking up things on microfiche in the public library? The big screen, and you had the little dials, and because they would shrink down big articles like newspapers and stuff like that onto these little discs, but it was a film disc, and it was just really, really tiny, but you could blow it up on the screen. I used to have to look up stuff like that at the library, but they don't. Of course, they don't have microfiche anymore unless it's in a museum. Excuse me. So these guys are doing it like they did in World War II. Nothing has changed. Nature Nerd says he likes how the Fed uses paper and old technology. There are times where it makes sense. An area where they would not want to modernize anything, for example, is in nuclear silos. All of our nuclear missile silos have never been updated. They're still using technology from the 60s. They're still using like the big 13-inch floppy disks or whatever. The reason for that is because no modern system can access them. You have to literally call someone in there to get anything done. They've got to pick up the phone and take an order to make and then collaborate and then confirm those orders in order to start processing anything. So somebody couldn't hack into a silo. It's impossible because there are no modern systems in there. That makes sense because you don't want outsiders to be able to gain access. I don't know. I just don't know. I just don't know. But that does sound terribly inefficient. So we'll see. Country says I used to have to scan medical records onto microfilm at my first job. And Nature Nerd says we got to keep the limestone cave. I want to turn it into a bunker. I'll go live in it. JJ remembers microfiche also. Yeah, those old caves and mines can make for some great bunkers, emergency bunkers. There's a few abandoned ones that are structured really well that are for sale. They are for sale. As we move along here, more on Doge. Oh no, not this one though. This story is missing. This story is unavailable. They don't want me to show this one. Look at this. I've been shut down. Hold on a second. I'm going to pull it up on the screen so you can see what I'm talking about. I'm not making it up, folks. Look at that. Denied. No story for you. You won't read about this one. I've been censored, or the story's been censored. Yeah, that's still going on. That is still going on, ladies and gentlemen. You're not as free as you thought you were. Okay. Okay. We'll move around then. How about this story? And this is going to be from the Tampa Free Press. Tampa Free Press article coming up here. Eventually, as Restream chokes again. Come on, buddy. Come on. The more you do this, the greater the chances are you'll be replaced. Here it comes. This is going to be an article. Top Biden HHS official funneled billions to migrants through her nonprofit connections. And it was an article about Mayorkas and illegal migration funding. JJ's asking, what was that article? And Frankie says, keep moving, nothing to see here. Yeah, that's how it works. So here we go. Watchdog report revealed Thursday a top official in the Biden administration Health and Human Services directed millions in migrant assistance grants to nonprofits where she had previously held senior positions. Robin Dunn Marcos, who led HHS's Office of Refugee Resettlement, is that what they were calling it? Under former President Biden, oversaw $22.6 billion in grant distributions since 2020, with her former employers emerging as beneficiaries. That rescue committee, where she's 23 years as senior director, received $598 million, while Church World Service, her employer for 4 years, was awarded $355 million, according to Open the Books. Consistent with the ethics pledge, Robin Dunn Marcos is recused from participating in particular matters involving specific parties in which IRC are represented or represents a party. A spokesman for the Administration for Children and Families parent agency told the outlet. The recusal obligation lasts for 2 years from her date of appointment, which was September 11th, 2022. While HHS officials maintained To the outlet that Dunn Marcos recused herself from decisions involving her former employees, Open the Books reported the IRC funding increased dramatically during her tenure, jumping from $22 million in fiscal year 21 to $235 million in 2023. Through a network of nonprofit organizations, ORR provided an extensive array of benefits to migrants, including dollar-for-dollar matching savings plans for vehicles and home purchases, small business loans up to $15,000, and credit repair loans up to $1,500. Additional services include cultural orientation. That sure didn't work. Emergency housing support, legal assistance, and Medicaid care. Open the Books report called the program a giant magnet for those seeking to cross the border and claim asylum. No kidding. ORR dramatically increased funding in general during Dunn Marcos' tenure, with annual grant disbursements soaring from $2.6 billion in 2020 to $10 billion in 2023. The most substantial portion of funding, $12.4 billion, went towards programs for unaccompanied minor children, even as the agency faced mounting criticism over its handling of minors that were in its care. Tom Homan, now President Trump's border czar, estimated that 300,000 migrant children were unaccounted for under the program, which he said in a January 23 interview with Fox News. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And she had to have been getting a kickback from that. That has to be, she has to be getting a kickback from this. 22.6, was it? $22.6 billion in total? Yeah, $22.6 billion in total grant distributions in the last 4 years. And places that she worked at were the top beneficiaries, who saw, in most cases, more than a 10%, or 10 times, I should say, 10 times increases in the amount of donations that they were getting, even while they were under investigation, apparently, for not doing the job. I wonder how much money Robin Dunn Marcos grifted off of that. And JJ said the Mayorkas articles on Fox News. Yeah, that article just fell apart on me. It disappeared. They don't want you to see that. They don't want you to see that. But this doesn't surprise me. This doesn't surprise me. More fraud. More fraud. More dishonesty. Shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone, because that's all we see, unfortunately, from our government. Let me see if I can get that article open. Yeah, I'm looking. No, I opened it up on here. Here we go. Hold on a second. Let me try that one more time. I tried to open that article again under another news service, and it's also blocked. The Mayorkas one. Wow. Okay. Let's try this. All right, I got it now. 3 attempts, 3 different news agencies to try to get that open, to read that particular article, folks. And it is on Fox. Thank you, JJ. It is on Fox. I guess they had the story first. It says federal agency and Doge's crosshairs played key role in Harris's strategy to curb migrant crisis. When the Biden administration launched its strategy to tackle root causes of migration at the southern border during a time of rapidly rising and historic illegal immigration, the now frozen United States Agency for International Development played a significant role. During the Biden administration, Vice President Kamala Harris was tasked with leading diplomacy in Latin America to tackle the root causes identified as issues like gang violence, climate change, and poverty. It consisted of both government initiatives and funding from private organizations. USAID, which was frozen in recent days over concerns about misspending, played a key role in the distribution of funds. While certain operations have been halted to get a full picture of USAID funding to the region, it is possible to get a glimpse of the help it provided. Is this about Mayorkas? Because I don't see Mayorkas in here. So this still isn't it. This is about the Biden-Harris administration and USAID sending money to Latin America. So I guess the Mayorkas article just disappeared somehow. That's incredible. Yeah, nothing to see here, right? Nothing to see here, folks. They don't want you to find it. They don't want you to find it. I wonder if something happened with that article. I wonder if something happened with that article. Let's try that again. As I jump around all over the place here. It's slowing everything down. Here we go. I got it again. I've got it again. Sorry for the confusion. I tell you, you can't trust anything these days, especially with everything being digital. This is Fox again. Doge discovers the Biden-Mayorkas illegal migration funding machine. This is the article I was looking for. And then it's not even an article. It's a... there's no article here. There's a video clip and it won't even open. Let me see it. Censorship at its finest, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that. And the video is gone. The video, here's the title. FEMA money supposed to help disaster-stricken Americans, yet Biden administration used it to aid illegal aliens. And article. Unbelievable. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, we may as well get back to looking at politicians and their fraud, and we're going to jump to New York. We're going to jump to New York, and we're going to read an article from the Tribune News Service. Founder of New York City's nonprofit indicted for taking millions in kickbacks under the city-funded C-Virus housing program. There he is, and that's Julio Medina. Funky cold Julio Medina, helping himself to millions of dollars in bribes and kickbacks. During the height of the pandemic, the founder of a city-funded nonprofit aiding people released from jail allegedly took, you know he did it, $2.5 million in cash kickbacks, plus other gifts, including home and luxury car payments, to funnel tens of millions in public funds to two corrupt business people federal prosecutors in Brooklyn have charged this Thursday, that being yesterday. Julio Medina, the executive director and founder of Exodus Transitional Community, solicited and accepted the cash and gifts from hotel executive Wai Hong Hu and an associate of Mayor Adams. No shit. Aide Winnie Greco and security company president Christopher Dantzler. In exchange, Medina funneled to them about $51 million in city contracts meant to provide housing and other services to people released from jail during the pandemic. Photos contained in the indictment show Medina, a former chairperson of the City Board of Correction, allegedly accepting an envelope of cash from Hu at one of the hotels used to house people released from jail during the pandemic. The nonprofit received roughly $122 million through the emergency housing program overseen by the city. The indictment said under the program, people were released from jail into hotels and given reentry services. They turned the hotel into a halfway house. That's just a really flowery way of saying that. Quote, the defendant's brazen and illegal kickback scheme stole money from the city of New York that was intended to provide emergency housing and support services during the pandemic, according to U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District, John Durham, who himself is probably just as guilty. Shamefully, the defendants saw the pandemic as an opportunity to line their pockets with stacks of cash, finance a luxury vehicle, purchase homes, and pay off personal debt. Prosecutors allege the scheme began as early as April 2020 as the pandemic forced citywide shutdowns and led Mayor de Blasio to order the release of hundreds of detainees from the city jails, driving the system's population to below 4,000 for the first time in memory, or the system's population, I should say, to below 4,000. And Ladybug is here. Says, notice how mainstream news calls it USAID as if it never was USAID. Yeah, it's supposed to be USAID. It's supposed to run together. USAID. Sure it is. But I have heard that. I'm pretty sure it's USAID, though. But here you go, another corrupt politician grifting money or something, getting his kickbacks, taking bribes to sell out city contracts and abuse taxpayer money. There he is, folks. Former commissioner for the prison system, operating a nonprofit charity system, taking tax dollars from the New York state government. And we're supposed to trust these people. We're supposed to trust these people. I read articles like this every week. Every week, I read articles like this. This is what Doge is all about, is stopping this kind of nonsense. That should never have happened anyway. We never should have had shutdowns to the level that they happened. I don't know if a shutdown was even necessary. I think it was a grand experiment. As each country got away with it, other countries said, hey, we can do that too. Let's see how far we can push our population. Let's see how much we can push them around and intimidate them and force them into a corner. And the whole world knuckled under. The whole world. And the only people that tried to push back, which to my amazement turned out to be Canadians, and they gave up too. As soon as their bank accounts were blocked, they gave up too, and they never got back to it. And this is, again, why I say every government is a dictatorship. I don't care what kind of government it is. They're all dictatorships. Some are better than others, but they're all dictatorships, and they'll all grind you up. Country says he's going to find out how the prison system works from the other side. That's right. That's right. He will. He did. I mean, and he's probably making plenty just doing what he was doing. Making plenty of money just doing what he was doing. He did not need to steal. He didn't need to steal. He didn't need to take bribes. He didn't need to misappropriate funds. He didn't need to take gifts from questionable individuals. That's the part that kills me about a lot of these individuals. That, these politicians and these others, people that work with governments or people that are in charities, the majority of them are making enough to live comfortably anyways. They don't need to do this. Why have you got to be so greedy and nasty about it? Especially when you're talking about a charity, which I don't trust charities anyways. But that's one of those things that people expect better of. Dude, you're a charity. You're supposed to be helping people. And Kimberly says greed's the ultimate downfall. Well, we're born greedy. You have to be. You can't communicate. You're a baby. You're an infant. You're a toddler. You can barely communicate, if at all. You've got to be greedy to get what you need. If you're raised right, you learn to move away from that. Some people never learn. Some people never grow up. And they're as greedy and selfish at my age as they were when they were 3 days old. Gimme, 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 or I'll scream and I'll throw a tantrum and I'll claw and I'll tear. They don't grow up. They don't grow up. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. We see this with these people again. They're making so much money. They're making so much and they're living comfortably. And so many of the people that do this, again, they're politicians or they're working for nonprofit charities, which their salaries are already great anyways. And then they got to turn around and steal more. How many articles did we read last year about leaders of Black Lives Matter charities stealing all the funds? Is there any left who aren't sitting in jail now? Are there any left that are not sitting in jail? Who's left? And then you get these celebrities too. Well, the celebrities are greedy also, but more so greedy for attention than for money. They don't have much opportunity to rip off money, but they are greedy for attention, and they can say and do things that are pretty stupid, especially if they feel like their celebrity status is slipping away from them. Like this guy. Any Trek fans out there? I'm about to break your heart. Hollywood Reporter. That's LeVar Burton. LeVar Burton, who is reduced to the autograph circuit because he's not doing anything anymore, who's best known for Star Trek. People forget he was even in Roots. He was a dramatic actor once. You know what? I never liked his character in Star Trek because if you watch Reading Rainbow and you watch Star Trek, his behavior is identical in both. Seriously, take a look. Listen to this. LeVar Burton reacts to Trump taking over the Kennedy Center, and he quotes, "Arts are above politics." LeVar Burton chats with THR on the red carpet at the Creative Coalition inaugural National Arts Advocacy Summit. That's a mouthful. In Las Vegas, and shares why he felt it was important for him to be a part of the event. Plus, he reacts to Donald Trump taking over the Kennedy Center and what that could mean for the arts. Okay? Basically, LeVar Burton, I guess in an attempt to still be relevant, throwing in his 2 cents, saying that politics has no place in the arts. LeVar, how do you think the Kennedy Center ended up doing gay operas and drag shows in the first place, instead of the traditional stuff that they always did used to show? How do you think that happened, LeVar? Because of politics injecting themselves into the Kennedy Center. That's how that happened. Okay? That's how that happened. Politics injected themselves in there, and Trump injected himself in there to shut that off and allow them or set them up to start showing traditional art programs there again. That's what happened. And you got to wonder about people when they say things like that. You got to wonder about these celebrities. This is what makes you wonder how out of touch they are or how brainwashed they are. This is why he went there and shut it down. and said that's not going to happen here anymore. We're going to get back to traditional arts. Kimberly's glad it wasn't William Shatner. Hey, don't forget William Shatner supported both Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris. Oh, there needs to be a woman president. That would be fantastic. Wouldn't that be fantastic? I don't know, Mr. Canadian, even though you haven't said. You know what? When he left Canada, the only time he's ever gone back to Canada, and he's not a U.S. citizen as far as I understand it. He has a ranch here. You know that. He has a big ranch. He wouldn't be able to afford that in Canada. But the only times he's ever gone back to Canada since leaving Canada to pursue acting is when there's been a Star Trek convention north of the border. JJ thinks he'll be upset that there won't be drag shows at the Kennedy Center anymore. Well, he did work under a rainbow for quite a long time. Maybe it had a negative effect on him. And country's not sure if Kennedy Center is even named after a President Kennedy. You know, I'm not sure either. I'm not sure who that's named after, actually. And I wanted to open this up again. I had this open yesterday, and I wanted to look at it again to see where we are. And that would be the U.S. debt clock. And I recommend looking this up and opening it up and checking it out. And I wish I could just post it live to the channel so people could just open it whenever they want, if I could figure out how to do that. And it is, as you see, a live clock. And it's bigger than it looks. And it's got a lot of different functions. And it even has a historical account. They have a section here called Time Machine, and you can go back to different years. And there's a world debt clock. There's one here for states specifically. So you could check up on just your state. And the reason that I opened this is because Doge has been added to this clock. Right here in gold to highlight that it is new. Hey, look at this. Doge is on the clock now. Okay. Calculating how much savings. And it's been, 21 days? And it's getting close to hitting $95 billion in savings. That's pretty quick. Kimberly says, I can't help it. My dad made me a Trekkie old school, of course. Hey, that's fine. That's fine. I'm a fan of the original. I didn't care for Next Generation very much. I thought it was rather unimaginative. I've talked about that extensively on my other channel, on the Nostalgia channel. That the Next Generation, not only was it badly presented, it's got some real bad special effects, especially in the first couple of seasons. But the stories, there's nothing original on that show. They stole the stories from all over the place. The whole first season, they're ripping off the original Star Trek plots. They ripped off Doctor Who. They even ripped off G.I. Joe, the Sunbow cartoon. They stole plots from that. They did plots from Orwell's 1984. There's nothing original about the show. Nothing. Not even the Borg is original. And I've made that argument. People are like, what are you talking about? The Borg's the best thing that ever happened to that show. It's true. The Borg saved Star Trek The Next Generation from getting canceled because it was failing in the ratings. But the Borg sparked new interest. The Borg is a recreation of the Cybermen from Doctor Who. So there's nothing original on that show. Deep Space Nine was a better show. And Voyager even was a little better. Enterprise was better. Enterprise was a good swan song for the original Star Trek runs because it explained a lot of things that they refused to explain in previous incarnations of the show. Stuff that they just left up in the air. They wrapped it up in Enterprise. And then, of course, you could always count the Saturday morning cartoon from 1974, Star Trek: The Animated Series from Filmation. I think it was only one season. It's probably 13 episodes, but that was actually better written than the original show. Their writing in that series was fantastic, and all of the original characters voiced over their own characters on that show from the 60s Star Trek. And JJ said Spock was his favorite character from the original. I think Spock was everybody's favorite character. But there's the National Debt Clock, and this is, of course, usdebtclock.org. It's worth taking a look at just out of curiosity. And like I said, you can look at different countries. You can look at your own state. It's actually very in-depth. And as you can see from the tickers, up to the second, data reporting, non-stop streaming. I like this. I wanted to share that again. And as you see, Doge, 94 billion, 789 million. It looks like it's going to hit 790 any second. Here it comes. There it is. Keep it going. Keep it going as they plow forward. I think they're moving a little too fast, but I do understand the need for aid, for urgency. They've already crushed U.S. aid, but now they're trying to tackle FEMA, the EPA, I think the EPA, right? FEMA, the EPA, IRS, and the Department of Education all at the same time, and I think that's too big. I know they've got more than 400 agencies to go through and less than 4 years to do it, but I really think they ought to tackle one at a time and not spread themselves too thin. The more they spread themselves out, the more it's going to cost, which kind of works against the whole purpose behind what they're doing in the first place. The whole purpose. But anyway, if you're interested in more of that kind of stuff, then you can find that. You can find me here. Let me share that. That's open by chance on YouTube. Anybody who is interested. That's the Nostalgia channel, where no politics, no social stuff at all, just pure nostalgia. 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, television, movies, toys, comic books, whatever you got. As we move along here, I'm going to open up an article from the Grio. I thought this is interesting because of the direction that this industry has gone in the last few years. This is a big mistake, in my opinion. It's Boys to Men. You remember Boys to Men, who are now men to elderly at this point, backed by hundreds of artists. And I don't like that term being applied to people in the modern music industry. They are not artists, they are musical performers. Delivers a letter to lawmakers pushing for the passage of the American Music Fairness Act. I got a few things to say about this. The bill would require big radio companies to pay artists for playing their music on the air while protecting small local radio broadcasters. The members of legendary Grammy Award-winning R&B group Boyz II Men visited Capitol Hill Thursday to meet with lawmakers and deliver a letter on behalf of and signed by over 300, quote, artists requesting passage of the American Music Fairness Act, according to the press release. The bill, H.R. 861, blah, 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 would ensure artists are paid whenever their songs are played on AM/FM radio stations, that is terrestrial radio, not satellite. It would also require only smaller radio stations, those whose revenue and whose parent companies fall below a certain threshold, to access unlimited music for less than $2 a day, among other things. And it goes on to tell you who's in this. But the bottom line is, this is an industry that's already being destroyed. This is an industry that's already being unraveled with the computer revolution, and it really started with Apple with their iPod. Once people started being able to stream music, the music industry got crushed. People are not producing albums anymore. These so-called artists put out a song or two, and they might make whatever ad revenue comes off of running that on YouTube or some other platform. Okay, they're not making money like they used to because there's no room for it. And now you're going to squeeze the industry more. If you are not being treated fair, you signed a bad contract, and that's the main problem when it comes to people in the music industry, because you hear it all the time. My wife watches a lot of the behind the musics and things like that, and the two stories you hear that pertains to something like this is, I didn't pay attention and signed a shitty contract and got screwed, or I had an attorney go over the contract and fine tune it, because they'll try to rip you off with a contract. And these guys with stars in their eyes are dumb and young and sign anything without thinking, and they get screwed. That's your fault for jumping the gun. Okay, yeah, you were taken advantage of, but you had the chance. There's plenty of attorneys who specialize in the music industry that would have been happy to go over those contracts, but you were like, yo, I signed this, yo, and now you're boned. And you end up like these three. You end up like a lot of these so-called artists still on tour, and they've got one foot in the grave already. Can't sing, can't perform, faking their music, lip syncing like Kiss on their final tour, who quit because they were busted doing it and then sold their catalog. Kiss doesn't own their music anymore. Yeah, squeeze the industry more and see how that works out. And JJ says, you're not a fan of Megan Thee Stallion. I'm shocked. I couldn't name a song. I've heard the name, but I couldn't name one song. I don't know. Country says maybe they could try painting when they sing. Yeah, I know. It's and they want to squeeze the industry for more. You screwed yourself over with your contract in the first place, and now you want to complain. You've been complaining about it for years. You never did anything about it. You never fixed it. You never renegotiated. And you have no idea how bad people get screwed over. You remember the Sugar Hill Gang? The first official rap song, Rapper's Delight, played on the radio in the 70s. It was the first song to make it mainstream. Those guys don't even have the rights to their own actual names, never mind the name Sugar Hill. They lost the names to their own personal monikers in the contracts. They had nothing. They had nothing. Stars in their eyes. Stars in their eyes. They made a deal with their producer in the back of a taxi cab in front of a pizza place where he was working to pay off debt to the pizza place. He was working there for free to pay off debt. I'm serious. Look it up. They're like, yeah, I'm going to be a big star. And you don't know what you're signing away. And JJ says Prince comes to mind. His screwing over was legendary. Yeah. JD says touring is how artists made money. The album is commercial for the tour. The album is how traditionally album sales would be how the record company would recoup the money that they invested in the recording, in transportation, in hotel rooms, in all of that. Whatever they had to pay for, that's how they get their money back. And you get your money out of the concert. And it's also why it's important for you to get rights to any writing you might have done on the album. Like Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston didn't make any money off of her songs. Dolly Parton did. But yeah, indeed. JD, the person who signed that contract, was a black guy. The producer that screwed over Sugar Hill Gang. But anyway, with that, we were at the top of the hour, so I will go ahead and sign off now. Again, you are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. On YouTube, it's Coffee Talk and Prepper University. You can find me on Fistful and Rumble Coffee Talk 2 with the number 2. 2 with the number 2, if anybody's looking for Rumble. And I can't see the comments in the live portion from Rumble, though. That's the only thing. So thank you, everybody, for joining us here today. As always, hope you got something out of the conversation. And we will catch you again on Monday.